What's the topic today? Starting business without money. Allow me to acknowledge we are industrious as a people. We are hardworking people. This is not a welfare-driven nation. And the odds are very high. Majority of you listening to me here are either in business or have ever attempted business, despite the fact that many of you could be working elsewhere. You have tried your hand in business. Now, what led me to choose this topic at this particular point of the year is that some statistics suggest that up to 90% of all SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa fail. And that's quite alarming, which then deductively implies there are many people in this live audience who have attempted business at some point or are in business and may have failed. If over 90% of businesses fail within 5 years. But there are still a few amongst us who've made it. They are doing exceptionally well. They're liquid. They seem to be flowing effortlessly in their craft. And I think such need to be examined. Such need to be studied. Their approaches, their methodologies to business. We don't want to study them so that we become them or we copy them. But we want to analyze the common denominators. What skills do they have? What expertise? What is this that they know that perhaps we don't know? You know, 2 years ago, I decided to do such an analysis that I compiled in a book called You Don't Need a Job. Let me digress for a moment and say this is not a book for the faint-hearted. I'm a writer. And I decided to put it in red color to warn you. Don't pick this book unless you really want to do business or you want to fire your boss. I'll not be responsible for those who resign after touching this book. You don't need a job. But I analyzed common denominators from 8 prominent Kenyans for women and for men to make it gender balanced. And the reason I did this is because business is both an art and a science. An art implies creativity, innovativeness, and ingenuity. The art aspect of business implies the relationship between men and its environment. But again, business is a science because it involves universal procedures and principles that any of us here tonight can apply and succeed. Because I believe each one of you listening to me here was designed to succeed. Victory ought to be your signature. None of us was designed a failure. It has to do with some choices that we are making. So I want to invite you to join me in a very exciting journey today. It's going to be a bit heavy, what we are going to explore together on starting business without money. But before doing that, allow me to digress briefly and share with you some few factors on reasons why people fail in business. Before I share with you the critical factors of succeeding in business, I'd like to briefly take a few moments and examine why do we fail in business on this part of the world. Number one, lack of purpose. Doing things because we have to, not because we want to. It is not something driving us at our heart level. And the truth is, if you consistently do what you hate, you end up hating yourself. So many of us do it because they must do it. There are real bills to be met. They are the pressure. It is not something driving them. They don't have that kind of childlike wonder in what they're trying to attempt to do. They lack a sense of purpose. So life is like a struggle and a hustle. They look at life purely as a problem to be solved, rather than a mystery to be lived. There's an adventure to be explored. Why do businesses fail? Number two, lack of focus. We spread too thin. We think it is safe to put eggs in various baskets. And the primary motivation for this is fear of failure. So we'd rather spare one basket full of eggs. You see, you can't have a broad strategy on startup budget. The reality is, for a startup, it requires to pivot quickly. But many of us end up with many verticals, starting many outlets, believing that these are various streams of income because we are trying to play it safe And often than not, most of them fail because we never understand the purpose and the impact of focus. In this club, I define focus as the ability to say no. There are many good options before you, but are you able to choose the best out of all good and stick by it, come what may? Number 3, inability to handle obstacles. Not if, not whether, but when obstacles arise. That's the reality of this life. The only thing that will keep you going is if you're passionate about your venture. Unless you're very passionate about what you're doing, you can't immerse yourself deeply and you're going to freak at the least friction that comes your way. That the road is bumpy and the weather is stormy doesn't imply you are headed in the wrong direction. We've got to learn to fight till all trouble withers away. We are in a generation where people quit at the slightest toothache. And you see, my conviction is that as long as you want to expand your territory, you want to expand your domain, you'll always be encountered by unfamiliar giants who try to stop you from expanding your domain. You've got to stay firm, you've got to stay the course, you've got to realize it's always too soon to quit, and you've got to fight till all trouble withers. But you can't do that unless you're passionate about what you're doing. Why do businesses fail? Number 4, copying others. How many times do you see someone doing well running a restaurant or a grocery or a boutique or a retail shop, oil industry, construction? They start building roads, straight away you find them driving a VX, V8, and straight away you develop some ideas. Without realizing you are grasping at an illusion, gazing at the visible signs of success without studying the fundamental principles, the underlying rudimentaries that lead this guy to succeed. You see, success looks appealing from outside inward, but most of us fail to recognize that the foundation is beneath the ground and it cannot be seen. So we fixate our eyes on illusions, what we can see with our naked eyes, rather than studying the very foundation that has made them to be successful. So we admire their cars, their houses, their lifestyles, their jewelry, but we never bother to find out how long they took, the sweat. We never take time to study the struggles they have gone through. So we just copy them. Number 5, why do businesses fail? Plan B. Many of us have an ouch scheme. Just in case plan A fails, then I have an escape route. You see, you can't devise an escape route and fail to make use of it someday. So long as you have a card beneath the deck, you'll definitely make use of it. What I've seen with success, it requires you to burn the bridges of retreat. It requires you to reach a point of no return. It requires you to have a resolve that you're not retreating. There's only one way out, forward. Number 6, why do businesses fail? Lack of discipline in our time. Some of us play God. We become available for every needy person in our lives. They know the guys working in the corporate world are not available because they are answerable to someone else. But so long as you're your own boss, then you're the obvious victim of every cousin, every friend, everyone around you. They regard you as the idler without you knowing. You're available for them. And number 2, you work at your own convenience. So when everyone else is struggling to do an 8-hour day job, you end up doing 5 hours because you don't want to do the traffic. You're looking for the easy way out, the road of least resistance. You want to have it easy on you without realizing that when you're infinitely hard on your goals, life becomes easier on you and for you. So I know this. You can't have $1 million business idea and a minimum work ethic. One will eat the other. You have to resolve that these are my working hours, and I will train or retrain my friends and my social contacts to respect my working hours as they do to their corporate friends. Why do businesses fail? Number 7. We feed from the business right from infancy. We start deviating project funds. We start taking money out of the business. We make the business account our personal account. You can't expect an infant to run a marathon and deliver victory to your family and fed for the family before they have even learned how to crawl and to run. You've got to learn to delay gratification, to plow back the proceeds into the business. You've got to learn to say no to cravings and urges and passions for the sake of this business to grow. Number 8, why do businesses fail? Lack of business planning. In Africa, most of us believe that businesses, or even our career lives, or even our own lives, will naturally become better. We will automatically improve. We will automatically grow. The business will just take its natural course. Far from it. Unless you're intentional about it, because many of us in this nation, we have good intentions, but we are not intentional. We want to succeed, but we are not deliberate. As the old adage goes, talk to me if you can. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But one major reason why we don't plan is because we don't even know the need for planning. I don't want to suggest that that list is exhaustive, but I believe those are some of the common mistakes we make leading to business failure. But now I want to invite you to our core presentation tonight, the critical success factors. What I think are the 8 most important factors that will help you succeed in your business. And I'll just list them for you so that you can follow me as I take you through this journey. And the first one I'll be discussing with you today is about mindset. Number 2, idea. Number 3, timing. Number 4, business model. Number 5, product differentiation. Number 6, competitive advantage. Number 7, team execution. Number 8, and the last one, funding. Number 1, are you there? Mindset. Notice, our topic today is not starting business without capital. I was careful to say starting business without money. And the reason is because each one of you was born loaded with capital. You may not have been born in a privileged background. You may not even have been raised in an affluent neighborhood. Or even if you are lucky enough to have benefits above the average of us. The reality is someone can take away your father's inheritance. Someone can mortgage your partner's house. Someone can sell or rob your car. Someone can alter the title deed of the property you hold so dear. But no one can take away your mind. It's your inalienable heritage. It is your possession. It is your essence. You don't have a mind. You are your mind. And we begin at this point because I believe with every fiber of my being that the most critical success factor to succeed in business is your mindset. I believe it can't hit your wallet before it hits your mind. Before it reflects in your bank account, it must be banked in your mind. You see, a lot of people expect, hope, and dream about a better future, a better tomorrow. But we can predict your tomorrow with precision tonight. You see, as you sit here, you are limited by time and space. You can only be in one place at the same time. But there is something within you that can transcend these human limitations. Something within you that knows no bounds. As you sit here tonight in this auditorium, you can take a quick walk around the world and be back in that seat before I give the second point. And your mind can travel 500 years long after you have since passed on. What's this? That's your imagination. You will never rise above your imagination. You will never have that business while you are still cooking mediocre thoughts. Your life will never exceed the quality of your thoughts. Let me put it this way. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your thoughts. The best way to control tomorrow is before it becomes today. The best way to control tomorrow is before it arrives. How shall you be 10 years after tonight? Exactly where your thoughts are today. What kind of harvest will you have 5 years from now? Answer, what type of seeds are you sowing in your mind right now? Are you deliberate about the seeds you're sowing? Or do you think growth will be incidental? Growth will be automatic? That's the question before us. You see, the very polarity of the human mind is in such a manner that once you stretch your mind, it doesn't come back to its original position. Your mind can be stretched by new knowledge. It is your responsibility to tell great stories, to enliven the imagination, to stretch your mind beyond the cognitive. Your mind operates just like any other muscle in the body. If you stay on bed for 2 weeks plus, you will need physical therapy to learn to walk again. If you do not exercise your creative imagination, I submit to you tonight, your imaginative faculties will atrophy, meaning they will waste away. You'll never rise above your imagination. I invite you today, dare to dream again. You could be one thought away from your multi-billion-dollar investment. You could be just an imagination away from becoming the next employer. You could be just a thought away from becoming a millionaire. You were never created to be stranded by any set of circumstances. We are not creatures of circumstances. We are creators of circumstances. You are created a creative being with the power to create. Within you is power to create. Regrettably, for many of us, that power is latent, wasting away, dying away within us. It has never been given space to be unleashed. There is something within you that can overcome the perimeter walls of your upbringing. Every limitation is self-imposed. I dare you tonight to say no to your own self-imposed limits. And dare believe that if there is one person who was created to start a bank or an insurance company or trains, is you, because it will never come into the physical reality before it hits your mind. You see, we steal things in this country. We baptize it a nice name, corruption. And the reason we do that is because we lack the power of imagination. Then we steal stuff. The toughest battles in life happen at the creative realms. Great minds don't steal stuff. They don't fight over stuff. They fight over ideas. And this takes me to my second point tonight. Ideas. Ideas are more powerful than money. In fact, money does not generate ideas. On the contrary, ideas generate money. Most people believe if only you give them the money right now, they are going to put up the business. Even right here, and anyone who will ever listen to this recording, the reality is many people believe that the only thing standing between them and the dream business is monetary capital. Reason with me tonight, please. If that were true, why do people receive benefits and pensions and blow it within a year? If that were true, why do people pick loans from banks of significant amounts and 2 years later they have nothing to show? Is it possible there is someone listening to me right now and you invested in and through a relative and there is nothing to show even 6 months later? Everything has gone to irrecoverable flames. By a show of hands, is there anyone in our midst here who invested in and through a relative because you wanted to help them, but in less than a year, there was no business standing? By a show of hand? Don't shy. Let me just see. Look at those hands. Then there is something more than monetary capital. That is why it's against God's laws to give you the harvest. God gives us the seed for us to nurture and take care of it. Primarily because if you're given the harvest immediately, in plain language, sudden success, without the sobriety to handle that success, without the tenacity, the resilience to deal with the obstacles, the challenges, and the problems that success brings, without the temperament to handle employees and customers, the odds are high that that money will fade away in a short while and may potentially destroy you. So God gives us the seed. I'm not talking of seed capital here. I'm talking about an idea. Once you nurture an idea from infancy to maturity, only then can you enjoy the benefits of that harvest and the glory that comes with it indefinitely. Ideas rule the world. Idea people are the highest paid people. Good ideas attract investors. Ideas transcend boundaries, geographical, racial, gender, tribe, religious. When you have an extraordinary idea, I tell you today, nobody cares your age, nobody cares your gender, nobody cares where you come from, nobody cares your dialect. When you have a powerful idea, it has power to attract resources. Ideas are more powerful than monetary capital. There are some ideas that were generated on a desktop, like Facebook and Uber. The brainchild of these ideas did not put up multi-billion factories, but you do know very well they put forward multi-billion-dollar ideas. The real test of an idea is its ability to solve an existential human problem. The authenticity of an idea is its ability to solve a real, tangible human problem. Any fake idea will not last more than 4 seasons. An idea will only last the test of time if it's solving a genuine problem. For example, garbage around us, corruption, crime, supply of groceries. Someone in this city of Nairobi decided to refurbish the toilets of the county government. That ended up becoming such a huge business. He started project 2 within the same line of bringing portable toilets from London. I don't want to mention his name. He could be in our midst. He comes for these meetings. And he's doing exceptionally well because he solved an existing problem. If your idea is not solving a problem, forget it. You see, a good idea is not the one you possess, but rather the one that possesses you. Because only then can you immerse yourself deeply into the idea. That doesn't mean that the idea will be obstacle-free during implementation. Absolutely not. But the relationship between you and the idea far outweighs any obstacle that will come along your way. And in that case, you never fear people criticizing the idea. You are never detoured by naysayers and the voice of critics. In the long history of mankind, no one has ever erected a statue in honor of a critic. Never fear people criticizing your idea. They will do it for a while. But eventually, an idea whose time is ripe, an idea whose time is due, is irresistible. So you must never shy from implementing that idea. I'm quite passionate with this, but what I suggest today, if you get time, search for our video for last month, part 1, The Power of an Idea. And you may get some ideas on how to generate an idea. Does that make sense? Let's go to number 3. Timing. In this life, timing is not an option. No man has ever discovered his purpose like the Lord Jesus. Yet, he never started his earthly ministry until he was 30 years of age. I suggest God believes in timing. Scripture teaches, in the fullness of time, God sent his Son. Sometimes, fearing that you are being late or being caught up by time, we take drastic measures ahead of time. I've seen single ladies, in fear that they might lack a husband, engage in premarital sex, just to realize shortly after they were played by yet another player. A child is always a gift and a blessing to the family and to humanity, but an unexpected pregnancy may hurt. Now, I don't think I'm trying to suggest there's such a thing as a perfect time for people to engage in a long-term relationship, because that will require mental and psychological and emotional preparation on both parties. Now, expecting anyone's ego individual to be 100% content in their mind, heart, and soul, settled for, say, marriage. All these parameters to be settled simultaneously is a very tall order. Expecting two individuals to be settled 100% with the same parameters is a taller order. But while there is no such an ideal thing as a perfect time, the two parties involved need to be aware about the conditions. While you may not control all the parameters, you need to be wary about these variables. Now, what is true about other human relationships is largely true about business relationships. Because business ideally requires a balance between your personal preparedness and market dynamism. Business timing implies finding that good balance, the right balance between supply and demand. I don't think there is any idea that is entirely new in the industry. Even if you're going to bring some new elements into the industry, the reality is there is another business of its kind that's already existing because all ideas build up on previous ideas. And that's why you have to ask yourself this fundamental question. Do you think this is the right time to introduce your idea into the open market? See, when you do the right thing at the wrong time, you don't get rewarded. You reap pains. If you strike early or strike late, you risk being striked out. When is it striking too early? If there's no demand for your product, Doc, then how do I know there's no demand for my product? Nobody's talking about a problem. I'm not discussing your product here, but a problem. Remember, that product, that service should be solving a particular problem. No one is discussing such a problem. It's only existing in your mind. You can't hear it in restaurants, in social joints, nor on the noisy social media platforms. Then I guarantee you, you will have an uphill battle implementing such an idea. When is it too late? When you want to implement an idea whereby we have similar or exact products or solutions already existing in the market, and the industry players have already gained momentum, and there are many, then the odds are high you also struggle adding one more idea, because the natural thing about people, they don't want yet another solution. Nobody wants another clone of Facebook. Nobody wants another clone of Instagram. Nobody wants another automobile tires. Nobody wants another software for burning DVDs. For you to convince them there's a real problem. Because sometimes, let's face it, techpreneurs are ahead of time. Sometimes they're ahead of what the consumers think they need. But that must be informed by a burning need, a real need in the market. When is the right time? After you've done your market research and you realize that some pain points do exist, then you don't need to wait for a breaking point in the marketplace. You don't need to wait for the brave to step forward. Be the brave one and step forward. Be the hero in the community. Be the hero in the society. That could be the right time. One of the greatest researchers in marketing, Bill Gross, argues that of all factors that lead to success in business, you need to hear this. Timing accounts to 42%. Business timing accounts to 42%. People with good ideas, wrong timing, straight out. Even sometimes I see people scaling too fast or too early or branching too often. You are seeing in this country many banks closing branches, many supermarkets closing branches. Are you witnessing that? Because sometimes they scaled too fast or too quickly, absorbed too many employees than they could handle. You see, you've got to be in sync with the season you're in life. Business has its own clock. And you've got to go through every single hour. You cannot circumvent the hands of time. Let me put it this way. If you wake up very early in the morning, say at 3, and you're woken up by an alarm clock, you're likely to have what I call waking emotions, which are very unstable. If you launch into business through waking emotions, for example, because you lost a job, and you invest into a business immediately, I'm calling them tonight waking emotions, you are likely to make very costly business mistakes. You might want to take time to sober your emotions down, to cool them down. It could be the right idea, the wrong timing. You see, ultimately, it doesn't matter how the market is. It doesn't matter how powerful the idea is. You are the only one who will implement this idea. You are the one to make it a reality. So the most critical thing, just like in relationships, is to be at peace with yourself. Because I know you might be asking me tonight, then, Doc, how do I really come to know the right timing? It's the same question I'll ask you about relationships. You've got to be at peace with yourself. Only when you're at peace with yourself will you be at peace with other people. You should never live with others unless and until you learn how to live with yourself. You should not live with a business unless you learn how to live with yourself. Because the same patterns and seasons you go through, your business will go through that. So don't launch a business to frustrate your former boss, to prove what material you're made of. Don't start a business to let them know that you can do it. Don't start it emotionally or because you are fired. Think twice. Be sure in your heart of hearts you are at peace with it. You are ready, you are prepared, and only you can sense when you're prepared to woo that girl, the business. Are you learning something? Yeah. Can we go to number 4? Yes. Number 4. Business model. By business model, I mean the entire value chain from the development of a product to distribution to the time it reaches the consumer. The entire value chain. Well, there are many reasons why people start business, but let's face it, the primary reason, the primary motivation why people start business is money. So how you're going to make this money is what I'm calling the business model. How are you going to make this money? Now, a business model in many ways resembles a business plan, except that a business plan